Hey.
Welcome back, everyone, to Thanks for Letting Me Share. I'm TJ.
I'm Dwayne.
And we're back. And today, we think we're going to talk about spirituality.
Yeah.
We had left off with that. And
spirituality and emotional sobriety, I think. Or just spirituality.
I mean, it all kind of intertwines.
Exactly.
It's all wellness, right?
Right.
Connection to self, others, all that stuff, right?
Exactly. You had a something you wanted to read.
Well, I'm just thinking back on my journey with it all, because when I remember hearing this idea of spirituality from the counselor, and I was finally able to start listening. I'm sure in and out of rehab and AA, it had been a concept that was there, but I wasn't actually ready to listen to it. Why do I keep doing this thing? What piece is missing? And that's the piece that was missing. And so a big part was separating spirituality from religion, because me and God weren't on good terms early on. And I don't consider myself a Christian, which is the religion that I grew up with. So in certain recovery spaces, they're talking about you need God or a higher power. And I'm like, I don't vibe with that. Am I still going to be able to do this thing if I don't vibe with that? And that's such a big part of it. But what were your experiences with it?
So it didn't really bother me, because even before I came into the program, or even back as a kid, I would say, I would feel like I'm not religious, but I do believe in a higher power. And a lot of that comes from just being kind of nerdy and dorky. And I love space, right? So it's one day I just remember trying to fathom how big the universe is, and something about and it just it kind of, once I learned about things it's easy to intellectualize for me, the difference between it's easy to intellectualize a concept of a higher power, right? And even down to realizing that, when people talk about coincidences or happenstance or fate or destiny or God or everything like that, it's it always kind of sounded like they were talking about the same thing to me, right? Something that they couldn't see, that kind of put them in these positions that they had no control over, and we just had to roll with it. And sometimes it was hard to understand why things happen, and it's that simple. And for me, it became easier to distill it down to a 3-letter word than to say an all encompassing spirit that's just guiding, or force that's just guiding everything, and everything's just kind of happening the way it's supposed to. And
the 3-letter word being God.
Yeah, because it's
which
path of least resistance.
Yeah, but which some people also struggle with,
right.
Whether it's religion tied or not. I remember I couldn't say God in the rooms for the first year or so, and I always said HP, higher power, my higher power this, my higher power that, and not defining it, because even saying God felt too religious. Even though now I know Christianity doesn't have a monopoly on the word God,
right?
And it can mean anything. It can be tied to a religious body or ideal, or it could just be good orderly direction, or I know somebody said going outside. I don't know. What is it? Getting in nature. I don't know. Something. It could be a lot of different things. Good orderly direction is the one that they say a lot. But to your point, common language.
Yeah.
When you're with a group of people being people trying to support each other and getting sober or getting well or whatever, we all need to agree on some terms sometimes, right? So God is a term that we can use, even though we all have a different image of it in our head.
Right. And, there's this, when people talk about the idea of God is like, how am I supposed to believe in this like white man with a long beard and
Hey, white.
just up in the sky like making things? It's like dude, like that's an image that should have left you with the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus. That's an image that they put on something to make it more easily understandable for children. You're not a child. Grow the fuck up. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is, and at a certain point, it's like, at a certain point, I feel like people understand what you're trying to say, and it goes back to the rehab thing. They just need a reason to argue, right? Because the fact of the matter is, I had no more control over you being in that seat when I walked into rehab than I do of what the temperature's going to be tomorrow. I had zero control. I had no more control over who my parents were going to be than I do of the sun rising. I have no more control over a lot of times my own thoughts than the tides. They just come and I deal with them the best that I can. And, we get into these things where ultimately it comes down to feeling some type of way that you didn't have control over things. And that's what we're trying to get over, right? Because like, even think about like one thing that you realize is that one argument that people always use against God. Well, if God exists, then how come like children die or whatever? Because everybody dies. That's why children die, and everybody dies at different times. And you just feel like it should be on your timeline when people die, right? And and people say like, oh well, why would God take my grandmother away from me? Because everybody's grandmother gets taken away from them. You don't care when everybody else's grandmother dies. You care that it's your grandma that it happened to. And it's just once you realize, it's just this overall selfishness and self-absorption that people have, that like feeling like I need to be able to justify, or these things need to happen on my timeline and the way that I want them to happen in order for there to be something good in the world, right? But here's the thing. It's like, when you think about what a higher power is, or like God, you think God plays favorites? Because in every interaction, just about like, there are very few interactions where there's mutual benefit, right? Like this is one right now, like we are both getting something out of this, but like at the same time, it's like, even if you go to the store, right, you have to give something to get something. You give them your money, so it impacts you negatively because you're giving them your money. It impacts them negatively because they're giving you a product, like they're giving you some of their stock. So just like kind of realizing that there's like, that's the natural interaction of everything. There's good and there's bad. It happens. Sometimes it's your turn for bad shit to happen to you, and like, there's nothing new that's happened to me that hasn't happened to somebody else before. What do I think that there's this power that's just like, fuck you, like you, and I used to feel that way, like I was God's soccer ball, but I wasn't the only kid that grew up like in a tough environment. I wasn't the only kid that grew up with a single mother, or like, definitely not the only black teenage boy. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like,
I like that you brought up the selfishness of it, because I feel like that is a little bit what fuels my addiction in the first place. This idea that like, poor me, everything's happening to me, all these things, this is how I deal with it. You would deal with it too. If you experience this, you would do that,
or this misconception that we're supposed to feel good all the time.
Yeah. Not being able to just sit through discomfort and handle bad things because no coping skills. But just this, I had to shift my mentality that like, things aren't happening to me because I'm such a small piece of everything. Like, we already know that. Like, we don't know what's in the ocean. We don't know what's in space, to your point, right? I'm such a small piece to think that all this stuff is happening to me is a very self-centered notion. And then if you add on the fact that everyone else is thinking that same thing too, like, it's just, we're very self-centered people. And so it's like, maybe there's just something out there, something, some energy. Like, I liked early on, I just was like, energy, because I can feel that. I can feel shifts in the room. I can feel things going a certain way. So it's like, that's bigger than me, right?
Right.
All these concepts, like the connection you get between two people, that's bigger than me. Something, you know, I would get these God moments, these signs before I was even sober of like, something's happening that I can't control, but there's something going on here. And that just continued to happen. And the more like I get out of my own way, the more I'm like, it's not about me anymore. Like, I can be a part of something that's bigger. Connection to God, self, and other. When I'm drinking, when I'm alone in my addiction, I'm not connected to anything. I'm just kind of out here floating with no purpose. And so for me, spirituality has looked like connecting to myself, getting those, like, all the pieces back together, being present, having relationships and being able to be, you know, a brother to, or a sister, you know, having that connection with other people, and figuring out that I'm part of this like larger energy in life. And all those things have been helping me. I also, go ahead.
Oh, have you heard of, because you just brought something that made me think of it. Have you ever heard of the term like active nihilism?
I don't think so.
So you know what nihilism is,
Yeah.
right? So active nihilism is more of a positive spin on that. Like you said, we're all like, you just feel like when you're disconnected, you're just floating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, you're just floating through life. But also, like, yeah, I'm just floating through life,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And like, no matter how much control I have to do it, like, I'm just floating through life, and I have no idea like what awaits me, because like, let me ask you this. Did you, because I know that I didn't decide that in June of 2018, I'm going to go to this place called Miramont because I'm going to have a drug addiction, and then I'm going to sit down next to this woman named TJ, and then, 6 years later, we're still going to be close friends. Did you make that decision when you were a kid?
No, oh no, certainly not when I was a kid.
Right. and it just kind of happened, right? And when I think of, like I said, when I think of all of the crazy things like that had to happen just for that to like, and even on a more like existential level, I guess, right? Cuz and I'm going to take it way back, right? So this thing had to happen, whatever you want to call it, to create this universe. Then to create this galaxy had to be formed, and then this solar system, and then not only this solar system, but our planet had to find its way into like the habitable zone, right? Meanwhile, not being destroyed by asteroids and everything during like the Great Barrage or whatever. Like, we got hit by the moon, for God's sakes. And like hit by another planet, and that created the moon. Like, for this planet not even to be destroyed right now, and then after billions of years, something decided to crawl out of the ocean. And all of these different species of things started to happen that evolved into us. And then our species, particular species of human, had to win out, right? And then from there, two people met, had a child. And then they met and had a child. So on and so forth. A couple hundred years ago, like, our particular ancestors had to be on a beach and get plucked off of a continent and brought over here. And then one day, like, you had to decide to move to Philadelphia. I had to decide to move to Philadelphia. All of this stuff completely independent for us to meet at this one point.
Yeah.
Like, what? Who am I to think that I had any like? All I did was kind of float through life, making decision after decision after decision that got me here.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no idea what was going to be waiting on the end of all of those decisions.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I can have complete control over it, but realize that I have no control over what happens with it.
Right.
Right. I can have complete control over my decisions and have no idea. And sometimes I don't have complete control over my decisions because I can only decide on the options I was given.
Mm-hmm. So what is it? So what is this piece, like this spirituality piece that helps us get this thing and stay sober? Like, what's the difference or the shift for you?
That life is happening to everybody and we all make it to the same destination ultimately. It's just a matter of when we get there.
Yeah.
All of us end up in the dirt.
Yeah. For me, I think it was purpose. Figuring out that, I mean, for me, like, I like how we're all floating, but it doesn't help me to feel like I'm floating and not going anywhere or doing anything productive.
Correct.
And for most of my life, that's how I felt. I'm just out here. I have no control over my life. So I try to do things to make control happen. And that doesn't work either. And there's a 12-step program that I'm also part of where they say you can have higher power or higher purpose. For those of us where the like religion thing kind of clouds things, higher purpose is something I could grab onto. So I remember being like, if I ever get sober, I'm going to help other people, right? And just that drive, let's get it for myself so I can help others. And now that I have it, I have no choice but to help other people. That keeps me going and that helps me feel connected to myself, to God, to others. So I think that's kind of what spirituality is. It's bringing meaning, bringing like just this understanding that there's greater things out here. I'm in my own space floating, but yes, am I going with the current or against it? Can I add to whatever this all is? For me, bringing purpose having a purpose does that.
So yeah, and when I was a Boy Scout back in my teenage years, whenever we would go camping, the scoutmaster would always say, leave the campground cleaner than you found it, right? And that's always stuck with me. Like, you know what? I'd honestly say that's probably the one thing that has stuck with me from that whole experience is leave it better than you found it, right? And with that, like, and where that, when I was talking about like that kind of nihilism, like the spirituality piece for me is just that calming to know that like, okay, like that calming of like whatever happens, it's going to be okay. Whatever happens, it's happening the way it's supposed to happen. Therefore, like I don't feel so. When things go bad, I don't feel so like I failed. And also when things go good, I have that like humility to know that like I was just a part of it. Like I'm just here to like, I'm just doing my small part. Right. And that manifests itself in a lot of ways. Like, when being able to shrug some things off from time to time, being able to realize that a lot of things just aren't that deep, and that's what I'm saying. Like when we're all going to end up in the same place, like some of it's just not that deep. Being able to go into a situation like say a meeting or like even this and not go into it looking to like sound as good as possible, but be as honest as possible and just hope that it helps somebody, hope that somebody like latches onto it or like find something in my words or my actions to make their life a little bit better than it was the day before they met me.
Yeah.
Or to pull them out of something. Right.
Yeah.
So to me, like that's what that spirituality is like connecting to the spirits. Like we're just connecting spirits. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like, and it's not like I can't sit here and pretend that I'm like this Zen dude all the time, every day. I mean, for God's sakes, I work in a restaurant. The amount of times I just want to, like, I said the other day, like, if you don't want to stab somebody in the face 3 times a day, do you even have a job? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, it's not like I'm this dude every day, like all day, but like, but knowing that I have something to like kind of like center back to, it's like a gravity, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And so I like how you said it can be pretty practical. One of the things that has helped me is like, even though I don't consider myself a religious person, I like some of the religious ideals. And a lot of them, these religions and thought systems, philosophies, whatever, a lot of them are saying the same thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Be a good person.
Right.
Like, don't do shit to other people. Right?
My
honesty, like you said.
My my 9th grade history teacher pointed that out, and I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, they're all saying the same thing. And then that's also when I realized that fate, destiny, God, and all of that, people are trusting their future to something that they can't see. And like, at the end of the day, just hoping that it turns out well. Mm-hmm. But they don't know. And then like, when it doesn't turn out well, they're like, oh, it wasn't my destiny. Oh, it wasn't meant for me. Oh, well, the devil is working. Like, it's all, they're all saying the same shit.
But then it's also how we view that. Like, I feel like in sobriety, I've been in recovery and just getting well mentally and all that. I feel like I've been learning to take those moments as growth opportunities. Like, it's a lesson. Like, something happened. I don't like the way it turned out. What did I learn from that? And that's just a perspective that helps me. I feel like a lot of this stuff is latching onto the concept or the belief that helps me rather than hurts me. Because my old way of thinking, I could spiral off of anything if I'm thinking with, a sick mind, judgment and fear and all that.
Right.
But if I'm thinking about things in a perspective that is adding to me or helping me learn, helping me grow, just helping me in general, then I can usually have some stillness in whatever the thing is, right? Not right away, maybe. It might take some, like, all this fucking sucks, right? It takes me a few days to deal with it. But, after some time has passed, I can be like, okay, I see why I needed to learn that lesson, as opposed to just continuing to throw a pity party about it.
Right. And a lot of times, like, you don't see what's happening until it's already happened. And then you look back and you're like, oh, okay, that now it all makes sense, right? I say a lot, like, a lot of the bad things that have happened, and like where I'm at now in life is really good. Like, I feel like I'm in a really good place. Also, I had to be there to get here. I had to go through all of that to get to become the person that I am today. Because who knows what I would be if I didn't go through that? Like, I definitely wouldn't be the man that I am today. And, so there was one time where I went to a meeting, and it was a meeting on the subject. I was like, I don't really feel like talking about this shit. So I got up and left. And I went to another meeting, and it's the same exact topic. So I'm just like, all right, whatever. I guess I need to hear this. Yeah. And I sit there and I listen, and I'm blah, 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 whatever. Then the next day, I'm sitting on the stoop out in front of my house, and a friend of mine drives by, and she's like, hey, like, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing, but you want to go to PetSmart with me? And like, I'm the type of person that's like, hell yeah, I want to go to PetSmart with you. I don't have any pets. I'm not doing anything, but yes, I want to go because we're going somewhere. Yeah. So we go and we're talking and we're chatting, and then on the way back, like in the car at one point, like she asked for like, or I don't remember if she asked for advice or she kind of asked for advice, and she brings up the exact subject that we were talking about at that meeting before, and I was just like, oh, that's why I was there. Yeah. Because if I wasn't there yesterday listening and talking about this subject, I wouldn't have had the insight to help my friend today. Yeah. Right? And I've been talking about it lately too. It's like, we're really involved in the young people of AA and like young people's activities and recovery and things like that. And and I've had quite a few relapses, right? So even though I'm involved with that and it means a lot to me, like I came into the rooms, I was just about to turn 33. So like some people wouldn't consider that young. I still do, but like some people wouldn't consider that young. And then, and I look at these kids, some of them that are like 15, 16 getting sober, right? And I'm like, damn, like, but they need that, like, because somebody else is going to be 15 or 16 and trying to get sober, but also somebody is going to be 33 and coming into this room for the first time. Somebody's going to go through a bunch of relapses and think that like it's the end of the world, or like they can't do it, or that it's like they just can't stay sober. And like my story is uniquely mine. My experience is uniquely mine to put me in a position to uniquely help someone else.
Yeah.
Right?
Hope.
Yeah.
Like, I think that I remember being in rehab and someone had come in to share their story and they were talking about hope, which I did not have at the time. Like, I couldn't see purpose, meaning, sobriety, recovery. Well, I couldn't see any of that stuff. But like just this idea that like one day maybe, or, this person that maybe they can get it, or I could help. Like just these little glimpses of like, oh, okay, maybe, right? Having hope, I think that's also for me a very spiritual concept, and it's grown over time. And yeah, just being able to, you never know what someone is going to need. And I don't know, to your point about like people are getting this younger and younger and different backgrounds and things. And I feel like if we can just like drop a little bit of hope somewhere, that can be maybe the beginning of a spiritual process. So yeah.
I don't think people are just starting to get it younger and younger. I even when reading some of like the literature and like just hearing people's stories from like way back, I think people have always been getting it young.
I think there's I think there's more of an acceptance and embracing of younger people from those who maybe are more established. Like, because that idea of like, I've spilled more drinks than you've had because the person is younger, the fact that you need to have a really low bottom in order to qualify for sobriety, I think more people are starting to get rid of that. So it's not necessarily the young people themselves getting sober. It's the reception that you can be a hardcore addict, alcoholic, young, and you still deserve help wherever you are.
I think like what we were talking about in one of the previous episodes about how each individual is just as different as each individual meeting, right? Like you will have meetings filled with those people that I've spilled more than you drank. And at the same time, I'll use like Philadelphia, for example. We have 2 meetings in the city that are about the same age. And one of them is one of those meetings where you walk in, blah, blah, blah. Don't talk about drugs and blah, blah, blah. Like this heavy, like Italian, Irish traditional meeting. And then the other meeting is a young people's meeting where people have been getting sober young for decades now. And so like there's always been that like that duality and a lot of it, I guess. So for me, I get a thrill out of seeing people get it at 16, even though I was just starting at 16. I get a thrill out of seeing people get it at 16, because if I would have got it at 16, God knows where I could be right now. Like I could have fucking taken over the world by now. And I don't want them to go through the next through the next half of their life like I did. And then there are those people who are like there's always 2 types of people, right? There's the I suffered and I don't want you to suffer. And I suffered, so I think you should suffer too. And I think that the people that say I spilled more than you drank are the people that are like, I suffered and I think you should suffer too. And the people like you and I who see it young are like, yo, we've been through this. Don't do what we did.
Yeah.
Like, we are the type of people that are like, yo, we suffered. We don't want to see you go through the same thing. And that goes back to, there's this like selfishness. And like, just because you're sober doesn't mean you're not selfish. Like, just because you're sober doesn't mean you're a good person.
Right.
We've learned that.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And all this is like part of the journey. I love the notion of just helping the next person. That's honestly, that keeps me going a lot of times. A lot of times I don't want to go to a meeting. I don't want to work on myself anymore. I don't want to go to another therapy session. I don't want to take these damn meds, but I know I have to do all that stuff. And working with somebody else, that's the thing that gives me fire again. Like helping the next person who's just as bad as I was, you know, and they need some direction. I can be like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to do this thing. Like, I can share my experience with you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I kind of like the idea that and it says, like, we'll take this to the program AA. There's one of the promises we read at a lot of meetings that says, no matter how far down the scale you've gone, you'll see how your experience can benefit others, right?
Yeah.
So there's people in this program that think that if you didn't get it all in one shot, you're just some sort of loser, and they make other people feel like that and that they're worthless. And then there are people like me who are like, bro, I didn't get it, and more people like me than that guy. So like, and and I'm pretty happy. Like, I've built a life for myself that I've built a life for myself that when I started, I would have dreamed of having. Like, even this, like what we're doing right now, like, this is a dream for me. And like, to build a life to where I can facilitate this, and like to be in, like I said earlier, like, I live in a neighborhood where white people jog every day. Like, like, that's a big deal for me.
Yeah. My like big deal thing is I'm okay with like where and who I am. I used to have this constant need to like get better, do more, ambition, drive, like push, hustle, whatever, get to the next spot, be the CEO. Like, that's exhausting. And today I can just be like, I accomplish things that are exactly where I need to accomplish them and do what I need to do in life. And they're all great things. But I'm able to be still. I'm able to be okay with like one thing and just, ride that out for a little bit. I don't have to keep like making things happen, right?
Yeah.
That's that control thing. I can just enjoy the ride, and that feels good.
I see that manifest at my job all the time. Like I said, I'm a server. I work in restaurants, and all of the time, like, I see my coworkers complaining about how we don't make enough money and we don't do this and we don't do that. And I'm like, meanwhile, you've been here for 4 years. So, and you've paid your rent all the time. Like, you've always paid your rent and your bills are paid. So you make enough money and you go out every night and drink every night. I don't do that. Right. And this isn't a judgment, but it's like, I don't need as much money, like, because I don't need to make that up all the time. Now, what I do is I go to these conferences and conventions, and like, I travel to places and stuff like that. So like, yeah, I do occasionally need to like make it up, and I buy a stupid amount of like camera gear sometimes, and I splurge, but also like, a day like today, when I wake up, is like, all right, I got money put aside for my rent, and I gave myself like $10 to spend. That's fine. Cause you know what? I'm not trying to be like, all right, how can I get drunk on $10?
Yeah.
How can I get the maximum amount? I was like, bro, I got food in the kitchen. Like, I got my bus pass. I got my roof over my head. Everything, like, I got everything I need.
Yeah.
It's like, so it's like, it's like being happy with having my needs met.
Yeah. And I don't have to try so hard.
Right.
Everything was hard. Like, I used to drink doing everything. It could be laundry, it could be going to work, it could be hanging out with friends, anything. I was drunk. And now I see how like that just added to my emotional stress and just like energy, like zapping from me. And now it's like, I'm not doing all that. I can just like chill. Like life didn't have to be that hard. Like,
Right.
and I was putting all that on myself, and it's like, I have everything I need. You know, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like there are things I don't like. I would love to have more money, but I have everything that I need. I'm going to eat. I have a roof over my head. I have a car, like I can get around. All my needs are met, and that's okay. Any extra stress, that's just me getting in my head again.
Right. And like being there, like it hasn't taken away from my ambition. Mm-hmm. You know, my ambition is still there. I still want to do things. It's just that when on those times where I feel like I'm not doing enough or I'm not failing, like I have that ability to look back and be like, look where you are. Mm-hmm. Look where you were. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, look how much your life has changed. Like, you know, hell, 2 years from now, I could be making more money than I've ever seen in my life. Who knows? You know, I could 2 years from now, like I could be like married and have a kid or something like that. Like, who knows? Like, I don't know. Or 2 years from now, I could find something else that makes me not want to do like any of this, you know?
But today we have the choice to like dream and like work toward things, and, you know, versus when I was drinking, I had no choice to do anything but drink and work for the money or whatever it had to be to get the next drink and make sure I didn't hit a bottom of the bottle, right? Like I had to keep my thing coming. That's where all my energy, all my thoughts went.
I think the main thing is like I'm not just dreaming now. Yeah. Even if it's incremental progress, I am actually making progress as opposed to like before. And I remember like before this is even before like I started getting into like real heavy drugs, when I was just drinking all the time. And I remember writing this thing where I might still have it somewhere, where I was talking about how, you know, I have like this potential and I'm still like living, and I'm still like existing, but pretty much that's all I'm doing. I'm just existing. I'm not moving forward. I'm not doing anything. Like I work to drink and I drink to work. And it was that simple. Like the only thing I was working for was to pay rent and drink. And I wasn't going anywhere or moving the needle at all. And now, like, the needle might just wiggle a little bit on a day, but at least it wiggles. At least it moves, you know?
Yeah. I know you don't like that cliche of spirituality is those who've come out of hell, right?
Yeah.
Who've been there. But, like, for me, it was kind of like that. Like, I used to rack my brain. So the higher power thing, higher power. And one day I was in a meeting where this guy with lots of time, he was like, there are lower powers too. And I was like, yeah, that's what I've been missing. We keep talking about the higher, but we don't talk about the lower, but I'm in that.
Right.
Like for me, the lower power is like there would be times when I'm drinking and I'm doing things that's like, that's not me, but it was me, right? Some really crazy things, dangerous things, like hurtful things. And it's like literally a lower spirit is taking me over. So it was like to be out of that, anything's higher than that, than whatever it, you know, being intoxicated made me do.
Yeah.
And so that just notion of like, I can go back there. I don't have to have a drink in me to go back there to that lower, like that depression, that like, I can be like, oh, my thoughts are getting pretty dark right now. Right. I don't have to be drinking to go there. So like, I have to continue to do the work, the therapy, working, you know, my program, praying, meditating, whatever it needs to be on any given day, because it can change. But I have to make sure my thoughts don't go low either, right?
And that's the emotional sobriety piece of it, you know, because I know that like I've had a bottom like spiritually, emotionally while sober.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know that, like, you know, there's a spot in the big book called the bedevilments, right? And I realized somebody the other day had highlighted all of them, and next to each one wrote sober, like all of the bedevilments, and they feel them sober. And I was like, that's right. That is why I was drinking and using, so I didn't feel these things when I was sober. But also to remember that, like, or because I felt these things sober, and I don't feel them so much now all the time, but also remember that I can get back there really quickly. I can get back to that spot, and you know, that's what I'm trying to avoid with all of this, is getting back there where I'm not gonna go through and read them, but we can do that another time. But I guess in a way it is for people who have been through hell. But who's to say? Like, I mean, like, my hell and somebody else's hell is different, because I think there are those times where I'll listen to other people's stories and I'll be like, Jesus Christ, I thought I had it bad, you know? And you never know what other people are thinking. I remember talking to one of my best friends, and like, I remember, like, in high school, my mom was always like, you need to be like him. You need to be like him. And there were times where I wanted to be like him. And I was like, damn, he does have a lot. And then come to find out that all of high school, he was like, I wish I was like him.
Right.
I wish I had that attitude that he has. And I'm like, damn, I wish I had the focus and concentration that he had. And he's like, I wish I could just say whatever the fuck was on my mind and be okay with it. And I'm like, so it's like, you never know. Like, what's hell for me is not hell for everybody else.
Yeah. Which is also kind of why, like, I wish we could do more of this, just like sharing about our experiences. And it's not always like what was happening on the outside. The external stuff can look very, very different. The consequences, the losses, whatever, can look very different. But when we start talking about what's happening on the inside, the stuff that you can't see in the people, a lot of that stuff is pretty similar. And that's the stuff that, like, okay, we need to do some work here, right? But yeah, I couldn't identify with a lot of people's stories because of that. Like, look at what they're doing. Comparing my insides to someone's outsides, it's never going to work. But if we can start opening up, oh, you got depression, you got that thing, you've had it your whole life, oh, me too, like that, like one person sharing what's actually happening, like the real thing, I feel like that's helped me a lot. And that's that's one of the things on my journey that's been like so eye-opening. I am not alone in this. Well,
thank God we've created a platform to do that. So thanks for letting me share, TJ.
Thanks for sharing, Dwayne.
I think next time we'll touch on emotional sobriety.
Okay.
All right.
Started going there.
Cool. Yeah.
So that sounds good.
All right.
Cool.
See you next time.
Yep.